And this year, I actually made this commitment to no longer say to people, I agree to disagree with you. I think it's a horrible saying. Let's agree just to disagree. No, what I have come to say is I agree to respect and value your opinion. It doesn't mean that it's going to change my beliefs, but I'm going to respect you and value your opinion enough to shut my mouth and listen to it.
Some people lose their faith because heaven shows them too little. But how many people lose their faith because heaven shows them too much?
Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, aka the Going North Podcast, where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new piece of inspiration or information to help you keep going north. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Super Special Awesome podcast for super special awesome humans like yourself and the folks who share their award-winning, life-changing content, is the Going North podcast. And we got one heck of a guest for today, my friends. My goodness, we have a CEO, y'all. That's right, one of the toughest jobs on earth, the CEO of his own freaking fabulous company, baby, called the MoFi, the MoFi. Not only that, best-selling author. And he's also a former Walt Disney Imagineer, and he's an in-demand speaker, coach, and a fellow podcast host. And this wonderful gentleman right here is on a mission to disrupt the status quo, and he dares change makers to pour their hearts into their work while doubling down on a commitment to humanize their experience ecosystems. So let's give it up for the one, the only man on fire himself, Mr. Shawn Nason. How you doing today, Shawn?
Hey, brother, how are you doing? Excited to be here with you on this wonderful podcast and sharing some of my fire with you, brother. So glad to be here, man.
Woohoo! Glad you are, my man. That's right. The man is on fire, baby. I'm telling you. That's right. Winter's coming, and this man's got the heat for you, y'all.
There you go. There you go, brother. Love it. Love it.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. It's out of curiosity, man on fire. Like, where'd that nickname come from? Was that your time as a pastor where you had people falling out in the spirit? Like, where'd it come from, man?
Well, it could have happened in those days too, as my time as a pastor. We didn't hold snakes, but I might have had some fire moments, that Holy Ghost fire, right? Uh, Dom, the whole Man on Fire came in 2014 when I was Chief Innovation Officer at Xavier University here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and there was an article written about me, and they quoted me to be Man on Fire. And one of my what I would consider smart-ass colleagues made a comment about, well, you should dye your hair red on a Friday, and I came back Monday with fire engine red hair. And it stuck with me. So Man on Fire Innovation is what it was called, which is how the name of the company came. What an easy way, MOFI, Man on Fire Innovation. And that's how it stuck. And I try to get rid of it every once in a while, but it seems to circle back around. So I finally said, you might as well lean into it and just own it. So that's how it came about, 2014. I think it was like October.
Oh, wow. All righty. Well, anniversary coming up soon for my man right here. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Yes, indeed. Yeah, October's a great month. One of my lucky months of the year, usually.
Well, awesome. I'm hoping it's mine too.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. It definitely is indeed. It's lucky like all the duckies.
Yes.
That's right. But it ain't about duckies. It's about the superstar Shawn himself. Well, as you know, with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 50 years long. So mind filling in any things I missed about the sensational superhero Shawn himself?
No, man, it's been a journey. I joke about it. I'm 48 and I think in my fifth career. So professional musician turned pastor, which led me into my time at Walt Disney when I quit pastoring. My wife and I lived in Orlando, and we're Disneyites. And my wife said, hey, why don't you go to work for that company? and I got a job at Disney, and very fortunate to have become a Walt Disney Imagineer during my journey there. Did some amazing things. Really, when I learned about what an experience ecosystem is, although they didn't call it that, and how the meshing of experience and innovation come together in so many powerful ways. And then got recruited into healthcare, wacko, which is, you know, you go from a musician to, and my journey at Disney, I don't, I share this with people and I share it in our new book, Kiss Your Dragons, is, I also got my finance degree when I was at Disney. So got a bachelor's in finance, a master's in finance. And my role at Disney was actually in the world of finance. So, musician, pastor, finance. And then I was recruited by two Fortune companies in 2011. And I chose going to work in healthcare for one of the major payers, Humana, where I worked in consumer experience and innovation. And then my journey was done there. I got recruited into what made logical sense, right? Go to higher education, why not? That's an easy move. And that's probably been my biggest learning in my whole career is what it was like to work in higher ed and how really effed up higher ed is. I still say it's the next industry that's going to implode, and we're starting to see that happen. And so after 16 months in that, my mentor and very dear friend Sean Savinsky said to me, "You need to start your own company because you're way too disruptive to be in a company." And so we did. And in 2015, November 2015, we started this journey. And what's really funny is I actually joke with people, we're in just recently in our third iteration of even what the company does. We started out as a big innovation consulting house, not big, but a boutique consulting house. And then we moved into kind of the mesh of all of it and added training into there to now where we're just really focused on what we call the experience ecosystem and the experience promise. In the middle of that, wrote two books, The Power of Yes of Innovation, and this year co-authored a book with two amazing people, Michael Harper and Robin Glasgow, called Kiss Your Dragons. And really happy to say that just in June, the book went #1 on the best-selling list in several categories. So now we're starting this month, we're outlining the next book, actually going to be called, I think, The Experience Ecosystem, because I think we've just finished one pandemic and moving into another pandemic. And our new pandemic is, how is the experience ecosystem, the experience economy, the service industry going to recover from what happened over the last 18 months?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so much to unpack with that because it's so darn true. It's like, oh man, like a heck, even one person mentioned how that 1 year they lost 2 years of their life.
Yeah.
Lost like it all because of that darn pandemic. A lot of people lost their lives. People lost 2 years of progress. Some were able to advance. Some were able to actually turn the lemons into lemonade and still really get through the darn jungle of all of it. But a lot of people, like, and especially now with folks enjoying home so much, being couch potatoes and office chair potatoes, it's like, you know what? I think I want to go back. I think I want to keep getting this paper right here at home somehow.
Well, and not turn this into a political discussion at all, but we did it to ourselves somewhat.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah.
and you're a small business owner too, and I'm a small business owner, and we actually flourished during the pandemic because we work a lot in the healthcare space. And what I actually just realized in the past week is we as a company are facing what people faced last March, April, and May, we're facing this year. Because we as a small company in healthcare, we put our heads down and helped, you know, one of the the Fortune 1 company, we helped Walmart Health and Wellness get through a lot of the pandemic. And now we're just kind of sitting here going, oh, we just went through a pandemic. Oh, like we didn't, you know, trying to do business development, trying to get people to think, is a completely different mindset. So, I think in all honesty and transparency, Don, we are in the what I call PTSD of the pandemic right now as a small business. And I think we're going to see that across the board. We're seeing it. Restaurants can't open up to full capacity because although they can't find people to work. And I think we're going to see a crisis, and we're seeing it come to life.
Oh yeah, indeed. That's right. That's right, indeed. It's so darn true. It's like, man, that's probably another reason why a lot of folks are starting to cut off that unemployment and stuff. Because it's like, yeah, we need to get y'all back in the buildings, y'all. Like, come on, get out the house. Come on, we know humans can suck sometimes, but it's okay. You'll be fine. You'll be
Yeah.
fine. Just build your social skills back up again somehow. Like, listen to a Tony Robbins tape or something. You'll be fine.
Well, and it's a new. I think the thing with that is there's a new obligation as business owners on what that looks like. And
Mm,
so the premises of our book, Kiss Your Dragons, is this combination of mindsets and heart sets.
mm.
And mindsets are learned behaviors, right? So you can change mindsets, and you and I have done that probably several times in our life. We read a new book, it helps shift our mind. Heart sets are who we are and what we are and how we function. And we talk about, kissing your dragon, and leaning into kissing your dragons is embracing those things that you fear, that you're scared of, that you don't want to face. And the reality of it is, in the last 18 months, we've all had to face a lot of fears and a lot of things we didn't want to face, and had to kiss our dragons, and just not equipped to do it. And there's some great principles. We talk about what it's like to have radical relationships, what it's like to live in a swarm versus a tribe, which is very different. And how all of that then encompasses what this experience economy and experience ecosystem is going to move into. It's pretty fascinating, and I think we're going to see a new world come out of this.
That's right. And we can't play the Disney song "A Whole New World" in the background at all because folks will be so mad. Like, man, there ain't no whole new world, man. I want to go back to the old world, even though it ain't gonna happen. And you mentioned something very interesting, and I know you like to mention that you have a nice Native American background too. So, what's the difference between a swarm and a tribe?
Yeah, and I actually tell people I can actually talk about this. So, we're a minority-owned business. My father was full-blooded American Indian, Comanche Indian. And so, and you hear this, and I don't know, we've heard it. We've been on Clubhouse together too, and you hear this saying, "Your vibe attracts your tribe." And typically, those are people that think like you, talk like you, act like you. Most of the time, even look like you. It's that comfortable space, maybe what we even call our safe place, right? That's a tribe. So, people in my tribe, we all have a lot of the same features, the same color, skin. You know, there's this whole discussion, and that came up even during this last year around the Black Lives Matter movement. Can we use the word red skin? And I'm like, I'm not offended by it because I'm actually red skinned. I have those tendencies in my pigment. My father was truly a red skin. So again, our tribe, people that act, move, think like us. The premises of a swarm, when you put it in dragon terms, is the swarm, and we based a lot of this book off of dragon folklore and terminology, and then this movie series called How to Train Your Dragons, which had Toothless and Hiccup in it. And going back to that, Hiccup was a young man, 15-year-old boy who had been trained, and I want you to think about this as society today, who had been trained that dragons were bad, and they had been trained to kill dragons. So the day comes when he's in that pasture and he's confronted with Toothless, and he couldn't kill him. So he leaned in, what I say, kiss your dragons. He leaned in, he kissed Toothless, He became friends with Toothless. Something that he had been taught would hurt him and kill him. So think about this. You need to really, he leaned into that. And from that perspective, when you get through the three movies and what Hiccup and Toothless in that relationship, they actually transformed a society. And they used something that had always been thought as bad and that would hurt them and kill them to something that is good. And dragons travel in swarms, different sizes, different colors, different roles, different opinions. Imagine, Don, if we did that in society today. I don't want to go be with my tribe. There's nothing bad about saying my tribe as Native Americans. I don't want to be with people who look like me, think like me, sound like me, are just like me, because that doesn't make me a better person. And so as you read the book, and the powerful thing for people as they read this book is it's a conversation between Michael, Robin, and I. It's a very conversational book. And Robin and Michael are part of my swarm. We have very different political differences. We have very different, religion differences or spirituality thoughts. We think about things around risk differently, about all of that differently. But both of them have made me a better person and who I am today. And this year, I actually made this commitment to no longer say to people, I agree to disagree with you. I think it's a horrible saying. Let's agree just to disagree. No, what I have come to say is I agree to respect and value your opinion. It doesn't mean that it's going to change my beliefs, but I'm going to respect you and value your opinion enough to shut my mouth and listen to it. As long as you lean in and shut your mouth and listen to my opinion and where I stand. And then if we can change or if we can meet in the middle, awesome. But I'm not going to agree to disagree with you. I'm going to respect you for what you think. And to me, that's what's so powerful about a swarm. And the big concept in the book is this thing that we call radical relationships. And radical relationships are messy. And I actually read this a lot when I do podcasts, because in the book, we say radical relationships are about depth and authenticity, boldness and heart. This is about taking the time to sit with people you don't usually sit with. This is also about sitting in the mess, even when every ounce of your being wants to run and hide. Done well, radical relationships give us confidence and energy in the face of ambiguity, confusion, difficulty, danger, and even despair. They build our trust in ourselves and in others. We need them now more than ever. So there you are. That's the difference between a tribe and a swarm.
Well said indeed. Well said indeed. And I love the fact that you gave that wonderful explanation, that wonderful example, especially of radical relationships. Or heck, it reminds me of one of our past guests, like Danny Bruce Levin. Like he had this project last year called 50 Conversations with 50 Strangers, and it eventually went to 100, and I think around 200, and then he just called it More Conversations with Strangers, just so he could hear them out and listen to them, just to get their perspective. And it was one heck of a great project for him, because I'm sure he learned a lot. And at the end of the day, it helped to funnel some folks to his wonderful book, The Mosaic, which everybody should pick up after buying a good few copies of Kiss Your Dragons, because my goodness, it's solid stuff right there, man. Definitely solid stuff right there. And like, especially the fact of dropping the whole agree to disagree thing, because at first it's like, but what if I don't agree with them? But you're actually taking the time to really sit down and actually hear them out first, as opposed to trying to lambast them and beat them over
Yeah,
the head with the 2x4.
because let's be real, and you know this, Don, like that doesn't do anything. That does nothing. And I don't know. I've just come to that place to say I got to think about this differently.
There you go. There you go. Because there's so much out there nowadays, and a lot of it sometimes you get wrong. Heck, even with you being a pastor at one point, I'm pretty sure you probably had to deal with this. Like folks are trained in a certain way, and you may have gone to like maybe seminary. They teach a certain way of carrying out a message, and then when you actually get to communicating the message, you had to change probably midway after because they weren't getting it, and they had to make sure they stay awoke, stay awake to actually get the message and understand it.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
Yeah, man. So my goodness, my goodness. So with the power of listening and just really probably that's probably even one of the main keys of what folks are going to be needing to keep in their minds going forward
Oh,
with everything going on with this pandemic number two that you speak of. So my goodness, anything else you feel like folks should have in their toolbox with the wonderful or well, ain't no really wonderful. I'd say learning experience that lies ahead.
you know, I think you just said it. I think we have to we have to listen. And if we don't listen, man, I don't know. I just think we're screwed, brother. Um, I think that's why we are where we are today. Is we just don't listen and we don't respect. Um, and it's not about a political thing anymore. It's just about respecting each other.
You say that again. Definitely say that again. Indeed, it's like like at the highest level of a certain office, like that really is going to affect you as much as what's going on in your own sphere of influence right now. That's really where your
Yep.
main focus should be. Like, is your family okay? Are
Yep.
your friends okay? Like, the folks in
Yeah.
your company, are they okay? Like, we still got to take care of folks at the ground level before even trying to reach some metaphorical clouds here.
Abs- absolutely. And I think what used to be important, and we actually we say this, you know, within the company, that how do you have a heart focused human first approach? And I believe that if you actually have a heart focused human first approach, all those business metrics will come into place. But you have to do that, and you have to have that. And you know, we are one of our taglines is we make experience your biggest competitive advantage. So if you learn that, and you learn to put heart first and human first, and we saw that through the pandemic, we saw companies making those bold statements and doing that, that you're going to win. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. And I'm glad you mentioned heart set because that's something that's not mentioned a lot nowadays. It's always the mindset, but no one ever talks about the heart set really. Like, I think the only, there may have been another one, but the biggest name that pops in my head, Travis Fox, like last year, he mentioned heart set. Like, hey, like, mindset is great, but the heart set's really where it's at. Like, it's
Yeah,
really where it's at.
and people don't want to talk about them, and especially senior leaders. Senior leaders don't want to talk about heart sets, right?
Hmm.
But
Yep.
it's so important. It's so important that I go, I don't know how you cannot talk about heart sets. You know, and I actually there's two things that I'll say here in the book. We actually quote an old Native American legend. It's a Sioux legend that says the longest journey you will make in your life is from your head to your heart. And I would also add from your heart to your head. That journey, it's hard, right? And I preach a simple. We joke about it in the book. We talk about, you know, my 3 point sermon, my message. It doesn't change. And the last thing I would say to leaders are these three things: is first, learn to be transparent, within your organizations. Let your people know where you are. I've had to have some really tough conversations recently in our organization, with some contractors that work with us to say, this is where we're at, and I'm not going to hide it from you. I'm not going to candy coat it. This is what's happening. And I'm able to do that because I build those radical relationships, which is point number two: build relationships, build them. And this is the hardest point but the easiest point to me to do, and it's to love people. I don't know how you can be a leader in any organization and not love people. And if you do those three things, I think you have a win-win. Just my opinion.
Hey, sounds really good to me. Like transparency, like that's definitely a requirement. Heck, even one of the things about the pandemic of 2020 is that it's like, oh God, I can finally admit I don't know anything because the folks on TV don't know anything. It's like, all right, I can say I don't know. I feel okay about it. And
Right? But we had, for some reason, we had this stigma that we couldn't be that way. And I'm like, why not? That's who we are. So that's it, brother. That's my 3-point sermon. Now we can pass the offering plate.
that's right, the man on fire, baby. What's his Cash App? Is a Cash App? Is a hashtag MoFi? I'm sure he takes Venmo too, y'all. If you got
Yeah, that's right.
Bitcoin, he'll happily take it. Heck, I'll
I'll
happily
take
take it
that.
too.
So
Oh, yeah. But yeah, man, definitely right. Like, hey, that's one of the things about leadership, especially nowadays more than ever, which can be somewhat uphill for some people. And they probably need to change their field as really loving people. Like, that's really the best and worst part of leadership is the people, because it's like, hey,
that's right.
people are great. They can build you up and tear you down at the same time in 15
Same
minutes
time.
apart.
Yes. We've learned that a few times in our life, brother. A few times.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness. So, since this is far from your first rodeo, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
I think for me, it goes back to what we just talked about. Why the heart, Shawn? Why is the heart so important? Why are radical relationships so important? And I think to add on to that, the piece that's really important is I hear people say to me, um, yeah, I know, I understand radical relationships. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you say you understand them, you don't understand them, because radical relationships are hard and you get hurt a lot, but you get a lot of rewards in it. And I wish people would ask more about what that is, which is why we wrote the book.
So radical relationships lead to reward. There we go. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Yes,
Yes.
indeed. That's right. That
Yep.
triple R right there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So speaking of hearts said, what any advice for those who maybe listen to this podcast, maybe CEO, they may be a leader in their own organization, whether it be nonprofit, the church, or volunteer organization, and they want to try to get deeper within their heart and focus on that piece of it. What has helped you to really get within yourself that may help them to really tap more into the art and bring it out into their leadership?
Um, this is a hard one, because there's this concept in the Bible called an armor bearer. And that was the person that went out before all, the leader, and the person that would take a bullet for a leader, which I think in what we have heard in business terms is a lot around servant leadership, right? And I wish that people understood how powerful that was. To be a servant to people goes back to loving people. That if we could just serve people and lift people up and bring them along the journey and not treat them like they're not human, what a powerful, powerful world we would live in. And I just wish leaders understood that more. And I wish egos would get out of it. I'm so over egos. Um, and titles don't mean anything. Actions mean everything.
Boom! Mic drop right there. Yes, indeed. Titles don't mean everything. Actions mean everything. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking
Yep.
about right there. That's right. That's that powerful quote right there, baby. That's right. All right, found the quote for the episode. Show notes for this one. That's freaking powerful right there, indeed. Yeah, because titles, like, that's the thing. Like that's like level 1 leadership. It's like, oh, they'll acknowledge you, be like, oh yeah, you got the title and all, but after that, it's like, all right, so what are you gonna do? Are you gonna do
Yeah,
anything
right. Like,
with it?
yeah, yeah, it's great. I'm CEO and founder of my own company. So, what do you do with it? Number one, best-selling author. So, what are you going to do with it? What I want to do with it is serve people, and I want to see people succeed and live and be better in life. That's what I want to do with it.
That's right. Wants to serve people, y'all. That's right. So drop the egos, y'all. That's right. Turn your egos into egos. That's right. The more egos you
There
eat,
you
the
go.
less ego you might have.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love that.
That's right. That's right. Let the ego waffle away.
That's right. That's a good one. You might need to save that one.
Oh, I am definitely going to save that one. Yep. People are going to be like, up, here comes Don with his corn cobs again. Oh man, but speaking of corn cobs, but not speaking about corn cobs, are coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're a 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2021 with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
This one's pretty simple for me. Live in honesty, integrity, transparency, and loyalty, and learning to be authentic with yourself. Don't be what everyone else wants you to be. Be who you're meant to be. And when I did that in my own life, it was great, hard, but the most rewarding things to do.
That's right, folks. Be who you're meant to be, y'all. That's right. That's right. Be who you're meant to be, indeed. That's right. That's right. Let the ego get out the way. Don't let people put that poison in your ears and in your mind. That's right.
That's right.
That's right, indeed. That's right. Save poison for the poison ivy, y'all. That's right.
I love it. Love it.
Woo. But for those who want some magical flowers and probably have some dragon breath all over them and kiss some magical dragons, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you, learn more about what you're doing, and buy some copies of your book and spread the word like butter on bread?
Awesome. You can go to ShawnNason.com or kissyourdragons.com. It takes you to the website. You can buy the book on Amazon. And real simple, my email is Shawn at either mofi.co or Shawn at ShawnNason.com. And I'd love to hear from you, love to hear from your listeners, and ready to help and serve those that want to go in and kiss your dragons. There's a whole kit on the website that you can actually buy and download to go through workbook and team exercises and everything that we have resource kit on the website.
Ooh. Well, there you have it, folks. Check out my man, Shawn Nason, baby. He's on fire, y'all. He's on fire. That's right. It ain't about burning, man. It's about the man on fire, y'all. Tell you. Catch some of this heat he's got, y'all, to keep you warm. And it'll burn away some of that ego, probably, too. Indeed. That's right. Burn it away. And then maybe replace the ego with some more dragons and then get some dragon
There
breath
you
in your
go.
life.
There you go. Love it. Love it.
So, any parting words before we close up shop?
Thank you, Dom. I love it. I love your spirit. And to all the listeners, lean in, kiss those dragons. And if you need someone to be a part of your swarm, I'm willing to be there.
Thanks a bunch for listening to this podcast episode. Hope you really enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to this show if you haven't already, because more greatness is coming your way. And if you're so inclined, be sure to share with at least 3 other people in your network so that way more folks can catch the fire that is on the Going North podcast. Keep winning at life and advance others to advance yourself.